Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up today, lots more election results as another ballot drop is expected right around 4 o'clock. And one of the worst news outlets in the country shutters its political division. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
I had a little political spiritual journey last night, where at first I was all mad and I was all upset. And I said, wow, we're never going to win again. And then it was kind of like the scene in Good Will Hunting. You know, the first time Robin Williams meets Matt Damon's character and Matt Damon's character gets in his head, and then he takes him out to the park and gives him that whole speech about how I fell into a deep sleep and I haven't thought about you since, when he realizes that he knows the world and Matt Damon's character really doesn't. I had a similar feeling today when I was driving to work. So today, as opposed to putting on the lefty podcast I listen to hear what the other side is saying, I put on some music, and I get my best thinking done when I'm listening to orchestral soundtracks of movies. Call me a dork, fine. I put on The Last Starfighter, and as I was driving in, it's inspirational. It's big. It's bigger than the movie The Last Starfighter. The Last Starfighter was this little movie about a teenager / going to college, who beats a video game and turns out it's a test to become a guy who's going to save the galaxy in a spaceship. The music for it is incredible, though. And as I was driving to work listening to this music, I had several revelations that put a smile on my face, and I think it's going to put a smile on your face, too. We didn't lose anything last night, us on the conservative side of the aisle. Who was running here? You look around at Seattle, and what it was Dem on Dem. The Democrats lost last night to the Democratic Socialists. The Democratic Socialists had a very, very good night last night. But what that means is the Democrats are losing. The Democrats are losing their entire party. And we couldn't possibly lose because we didn't show up to play. And at least we are realizing that, where the Democrats are trying to take credit for it. So this morning, watching Hakeem Jeffries and watching Chuck Schumer try to take credit for Zoran Mamdani last night, whose organization has literally said their goal is to destroy the Democratic Party. That's like the minor league single A team for the Dodgers saying, we won the World Series. We won the... No, you didn't. The Democrats are the single A team now. The DSA... they're the main guys. This was an off-year election, and there were very few Republicans on any ballot. What, I'm going to get broken up about the races around here in Seattle, where it was Democrat versus Democrat? Okay, it may have been more left-leaning Democrat versus a more right-leaning Democrat, but I remember the words of a very wise man, Ari Hoffman, who, when this city council was elected, I said, why are you calling them conservative, Seattle stranger? Why are you calling them conservative, Seattle Times? They're not. They're just more moderate Democrats. So it got yanked farther to the left? We've been here before. We had years of Kashama Sawant, and I would argue we never came out of it. What has really changed in the past few years under the existing Seattle City Council? All they did was not pass more insane stuff, but they actually did. We cover it here on the show. They passed more taxes. They passed more crazy. Granted, it wasn't the usual Kashama Sawant level crazy, but there was plenty of bad stuff, and they didn't repeal any of the dumb stuff like the Jumpstart tax, which chased away Amazon. There is literally going to be no difference between the incoming Seattle City Council and the ones who are leaving. You may say, oh, well, Sarah Nelson's not going to be president anymore. Good! Sarah Nelson has no spine, or she would have stood up to a lot of this stuff. Perhaps I told some of you this story but I think it bears repeating. Earlier this year, Sarah Nelson was starting a campaign, and she realized that she didn't want to be thrown in with the Hamasnik types. So she decided to show up to one of these pro-Israel events that was advocating for the hostages to be returned. Except she picked one that's not usually very well attended. It's like 6 or 7 people who go marching with some flags in West Seattle every week. She didn't show up to the bigger ones in town. And when she was there, I took some video of her remarks in a public park. 2 people she was there to quote-unquote support. And she didn't say anything bad. She said, I am here to show you I stand with you, but this is not an issue the Seattle City Council should be taking up because we don't do foreign policy. Fine, good, fantastic. One of her staffers came over, asked me if I would clear the video with him before posting it. When I said, no, absolutely not, Sarah Nelson was waiting for me when I left the park. And she tried to get me to do the exact same thing. You're so afraid of what you say in public going on video that you won't actually stand by it if it gets to social media? You're that afraid of the left? You're that afraid of your shadow? Fine. Who needs you? Ann Davidson. And this one pains me because Ann Davidson is a friend. Ran a garbage campaign, and in office did a lot of things I liked and a lot of things I disagreed with. She was elected to be the law and order candidate. And yet, what did she decide to do? Run as far to the left as she could to try and stave off a left challenger. And as we have discussed, no matter how left you go, you will never be left enough for the hardcore DSA progressive left. And they will never accept you. On top of that, she didn't have to be the face of these anti-Republican policies. And whoever's running her campaign, what, you think posting on Facebook 3 times a day is enough? There were so many times where she could have taken a victory lap on policies where she didn't. And she was not accessible to the media, to people like us. Whoever ran her campaign did a garbage job because I never saw you guys touting what you actually accomplished aside from the 4 followers that like your Facebook page. It was terribly run and trying to run to the left. I literally saw them contradicting themselves in their own social media posts, where one's like, well, this is more Democrat, this is more Republican. And as Mr. Miyagi says, go to right side safe, go to left side safe, go down the middle, squish like grape. That's exactly what happened here. Am I disappointed in the results that they weren't more moderate? Yeah, but I ask you, what's the difference? What's the difference? Now you look at the mayoral race. Bruce Harrell versus Katie Wilson. Katie Wilson's already talking like somebody who lost, but don't count her out yet. We're going to have a ballot drop at 4:05. We'll bring you the results as soon as we have a chance to go through them later in the show. And you know this is usually when the more moderate candidates start turning into pumpkins, especially with a race like this, where the socialists clean the Republicans' clocks or the more moderate clocks at that time. Bruce Harrell, he may be up by 7 points. We know how quickly that can swing. And I'm very concerned it might. But then again, do I really care? No. It's one lefty versus a further lefty. And the so-called moderate lefty has spent the whole time trying to be a lefty. Last night, I went to Kamala Harris's book tour event in Seattle. When I first got in, there were so many people. Ben Arroyo Hall packed, absolutely packed with Democrats supporting Kamala Harris. And the energy in the room was electric for Kamala Harris. Am I on a different planet? What is going on here? And it's the same Kamala Harris we all know, the same vapid, empty shell who's basically just repeating lines from her book, which she's memorized, not even had the wherewithal to say, oh, here's a little taste, but there's more in the book. No, not at all. But at the beginning of the night, I want you to listen to this. At the beginning of the night, they were giving the election results, and it was 2 minutes after we found out Mom Donnie won. This was the opening of the night before Kamala Harris even started speaking.
You have a Virginia Attorney General, Jay Jones. And as of just a few moments ago, New York City has
So they're cheering for a guy, Jay Jones, the Attorney General in Virginia, Attorney General-elect, who dreamt about, texted about, fantasized about killing Republicans and their children. They're cheering about that. And a lot of them claim it's just something the Republicans made up. No, the guy actually texted about it. And Zoran Mamdani, a communist, terrorist-supporting, anti-Semite, Democrat, socialist lunatic. That's the left cheering him, not realizing they're cheering a guy who wants the end of the Democrat Party. You know, when they had the revolution in Iran, they used the lefty students to push the hardcore Sharia revolution for the Ayatollah in Iran. That's exactly what DSA is doing now in off-year elections when they know nobody shows up. And I've been saying from the beginning of this, Zoran Mamdani, he has some ideas, and that's different than anybody else because he's the only one who's actually offering up ideas. They're terrible, they're horrible, they're never going to work, but he makes it sound positive, and people buy into that. They buy into that. But last night, he let his mask drop during his victory speech.
The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
Eugene Debs was the socialist nominee for president 5 times, and that room was cheering that guy. He's making no secret about who he is. This is what else he said.
After all, the conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist.
Not hiding anything. Not hiding anything at all. So what's his big plan?
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
Whoa, 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 whoa. This is what the socialists have been the whole time, but a lot of people are just waking up. A lot of people are just realizing it. I know a guy who thought government was the problem and proved if you get government out of the way, you're going to be more successful.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Exactly. In fact, he said something else, too.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
So, we actually have the blueprint to win, thanks to President Reagan. We have the blueprint to win, thanks to MAGA. The problem is the message isn't out there, and the problem is we're not actually doing it. The people who voted for Zoran Mamdani last night, according to all of the polling, are young, disaffected, college-educated, elite class people, not the working class. That's who voted for Zoran Mamdani, hoping he's going to give them free everything because the college degree they got in lesbian dance theory or underwater basket weaving or DEI can't get them a job. So they think government's going to swoop in and save them. You know what's been missing for a while, Mike? And I think you'll acknowledge this. When President Trump won, there was this energy, and things were happening so quickly, and we were getting hit with press release. We couldn't keep up with all the news of what that administration was doing. Where's Doge right now? Does anybody know where Doge is right now? Because you know how you fix the economy? I'm kind of tired of the Trump administration saying the economy is getting better, but I don't feel it in my wallet. Right, Mike? Especially here in Washington. That's a little Biden-esque. I know gas prices are coming down. I know the interest rates are coming down. I know it takes a while to get a freight train going when it's been dormant for so long. It takes miles to get a freight train going. Just stop it also. It takes time. But you know what? You can't spend on Republican priorities without cutting more from the budget, or you're going to have inflationary problems, which is what we're seeing. Doge found, by my last count, $650 billion in waste when Elon Musk left. And they cut $9 billion in rescissions? $9 billion. This is before the shutdown. What's Congress actually doing? They want to pass more larger spending packages, but this time on Republican priorities? With the tariffs. Great. You've got all this tariff money coming in. Are we paying off our debts? Are we paying things in the budget? What are we doing with it? The problem is that these things you're doing for the country, they are good in the long run, but it takes a while for people to feel it in their pockets. And the other problem you have is you're running head on into the failed Democrat policies in states like Washington, California, Illinois, New York, which are stopping you from feeling those effects. Gas prices are going down in 35 states, but not here, where they continue to go up because of the Democrats' Climate Commitment Act. And as long as gas taxes are on their way up, everything else is going to be more expensive. You need to address the young, white, college-educated kids who think they're never going to get a job, who think they're never going to afford a house, who think they're never going to get health care. And in their idiot desperation, because they're so brainwashed by their college institutions and their high schools, they think government is the solution, when in fact it's government that's been problem the whole time. So how do we fix this? We have the blueprint. We need the candidates, but we need to be more vocal about our messaging. I love President Trump's social media. I love J.D. Vance's social media. But you know what? The memes only get you so far. You need more people out there, more people talking about the messages, and more talking about the wins. And finding short ways, in the very clever ways you guys can do on social media, to explain all this stuff to those idiots who don't get it. Because while you think that, oh, they were socialists, they're going to vote socialist, they're all brainwashed, you know what the problem is? President Trump was the cool factor in 2024 for the election. All the kids wanted to be part of it. All the kids wanted to vote for it, except for the radical crazies. You want to be on the side of fun. I'm not seeing the fun, and there's a lot of promises you have to explain why they take a while, or you need to figure out how to fix them. The tariffs are offsetting some of the wins you could be making right now. And I think that some of them are actually taking things a little too far and making things more expensive for all of us. That's a Democrat policy. I haven't been in favor of the tariffs this whole time. Using them as leverage, I'm fine with. Imposing them unilaterally, not fine with, because we're the ones paying for it. I think that if you find a way to lower prices, and you basically have from today until, let's say, June. You have from today until June, and you can win in 2026. You absolutely can. But until people feel it in their wallets, they're going to say, you promised us all this winning, and it was a lot of fun at the beginning, but my gas is still too high, and my bills are too high, and the stuff I'm paying for is still too expensive, especially in these Democrat states. How can you fix that? You agree with me? You disagree with me? You give me a call. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss, including how I went undercover to Kamala Harris's event and what I saw there with the anti-Israel lunatics going after her speeches. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to everybody, download the KVI app so that way you can enter our latest contest where you get to see an advanced screening of The Running Man with me, Mike, and young Zach. This giveaway has been so popular, we actually added a few more tickets for you. So you download the KVI app, you get to see an advanced screening 4 days before the movie is released in theaters, Dolby Cinema, 4DX, Premium Large Format, and IMAX on November 14th. You get to come see it with us on November 10th at Pacific Place. Download the KVI app right now and enter to win to come join us and see The Running Man. Best symbolism ever. Mike, it was so dark over Elliott Bay. So dark while I was just doing that whole opening. Look what's happening out the window right now. It looks like this sunbreak is happening and the clouds are moving out of the way and you can see the blue skies behind it. And we thought it was the great dark. Everybody walk past the windows go, holy cow, it's the big dark. That's what it seemed like. And now look what's happening right there.
Yeah, nobody laughed when I kept saying too much vape.
Yeah.
You know, because like it was just foggy outside. It's like, oh my God, it looks so dark out. I'm like, too much vape. I guess too subtle for the newsroom there. Let me take this one from the top there. Sulu, look, the sun's come out. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Exactly. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Ted in Gig Harbor. Ted, what's up?
All right. A couple of things. One, I think I'm going to write a song. Okay, I'm not much of a songwriter, but this one's going to be called Mad Manny Escape from New York.
Yeah. I did like all the Snake Plissken memes I saw last night. There were some really good ones out there.
Yeah, you know, DeSantis jokingly talked about a head tax on each and every New Yorker that applies for asylum in Florida.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. I saw some great memes yesterday. So they were all talking about how Zoran Mamdani, official realtor of the year for Florida, or official realtor of the year for Israel. I mean, really, all these memes last night were gold. Appreciate the humor, Ted. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. So last night, got press tickets to go to Kamala Harris's book event at Benaroya Hall. I went in disguise because I knew there were going to be anti-Israel lunatics protesting this thing. So I adopted a new persona, Ira. That's Ari backwards. That's right. Put on my glasses, pulled out my contacts, put on a little newsboy cap and a few other things, and went to cover the insanity out at Benaroya Hall. Now, some people have seen the picture on social media and said, you need a scarf and a jacket. And I thought to myself, my God, I have that at home. And I thought I should wear it, but I completely forgot it as I walked out the door. You're right. I need that Gavin Newsom looking scarf to look like a true hipster. But either way, I went there. I was covering the Hamasniks. And while I'm there, this is my absolute favorite clip of these, I don't know, a few dozen lunatics that are outside. So they're chanting, right? Listen to what they were chanting.
How many kids did you kill today? How many kids did you kill today? Kamala, you can't. Kamala, you can't.
Messed up the chant. As you're holding the piece of paper you're reading it off of. Yes, tell me this is totally organic. Oh, look, it's Jonathan Cho walking right through the crowd videoing these lunatics. Now, according to intrepid reporter Jessica Hoffman from the Jewish News Syndicate, these guys were also holding signs of terrorists. I didn't know who the guy was. I took a picture. I said, I'm going to Google this guy later. Turns out he's a terrorist, Abu Iyad, who was assassinated by a rival Palestinian. Wasn't even killed by Israel. He was assassinated by a rival Palestinian. That's who these lunatics outside are protesting for. Then there's something else. As I was coming out of the light rail, that's right, I went full liberal yesterday. I even took the light rail. Some dude is standing at the top of the steps, and he looks at me and he goes, you must be going to the Kamala Harris event. So, Mike, my disguise worked. And I said, well, yes, I am. I even had my I voted sticker on. I miss no detail aside from the scarf. And he handed me this. And I want to read you the last paragraph of this thing bashing Kamala Harris. The Democrats point towards Trump as the boogeyman, but they are simply a more polite facade for a bloody imperial power that is the greatest threat on Earth today, at the heart of multiple intersecting crises: poverty, war, climate disaster. You can see this clearly in the open contempt for both the Biden-Harris and the Trump administration for international law and numerous UN resolutions about Israel, blah, blah, blah. They want to destroy the Democrats also. And these idiots like Chuck Schumer and these idiots like Hakeem Jeffries don't realize they're so desperate to hold on to power, they're literally handing it over to the people who want their jobs. So last night I'm in the room. Kamala Harris couldn't get 5 minutes without a Hamasnik interrupting her. Yeah, that was number one. Hang on. Here's number two. And it got so bad that audience members, where there was no security, were yanking these guys, pushing these guys, pulling these guys out. And the audience was actually cheering the other audience members who were pulling them out of the room.
How embarrassing. This is so embarrassing.
They're cheering the guy who's pulling them out of the room right now. I think this happened 5 or 6 times.
I'm sure there are other people here that may want to get up, and so let me. I get that. I would not exist if it were people who were active in protesting injustice. So I understand that.
Yeah, so Kamala's like, I get there's going to be more people who want to stand up and protest me. I left early, but while I was there, 5 or 6 different people hopping up at different points during this thing while Kamala's talking. They don't like her either. And you know what the crazy thing is? In one of these other clips I'll play for you a little bit later in the show, the moderator actually says, you don't know Kamala like I know Kamala. She agrees with you more than you know. She agrees with them. She agrees with them. But she's a Democrat and they see her as a genocider. Oh, yeah, we'll also have some clips for you about her wise words about Charlie Kirk, of all things. Yeah, Kamala had some doozies last night. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your texts, plus the reaction on Capitol Hill to last night's election results. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just want to remind everybody to join KVI at the Auburn Veterans Day Parade on November 8th. That's right, my friends, this weekend. One of the largest Veteran Day parades in the country. This proud tradition honors our nation's veterans and active military with over 150 units, marching bands, military vehicles, and more along Main Street. Look for Phil, Zach from the Morning Ride, along with Big Mike in the parade, and our sister stations 101.5 Hank FM and Northwest News Radio. And hang out with us at the KVI booth after the parade. You can find out all the info for the Veterans Day Parade this Saturday, November 8th at kvi.com. So envious. I love that. I love the pictures of it. I love the video of it. I really want to go every single year. Maybe one of these years we can get this sucker on Sundays. A lot of you have a lot of thoughts about what happened, and we are here for you. You want to call us, you want to vent, you want to text, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Jeff in Kent is making fun of me because I quoted The Last Starfighter. I was talking about The Last Starfighter at the beginning of the show. He called me a dork over on the text line. And I said, wait a minute. How am I the dork if you knew what I was talking about? Aha! Jeff also said, regarding my Ira disguise, he said I was using my Clark Kent glasses. Yes, exactly. They're my hypno glasses. Like Guy Gardner says. Exactly. You know about the hypno glasses? What's going on here? Exactly. This one here from the 253. Ari, new bumper sticker from New York. Instead of I Heart New York, replace the heart with a hammer and sickle symbol. Funny you should mention that. Last night, a few of the activists I saw outside had hammer and sickle insignia on them. They weren't just anti-Israel activists outside the Kamala Harris event. They were anti-capitalism. They were full-on communists outside that event. Yeah. Tell me again how this is. Socialism and communism, they're two different things, totally different things. Yeah, I'm sure Vanilla Ice has some thoughts on that. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Aaron in Seattle. Aaron, from the belly of the beast. What's going on, man?
Nice to talk to you, Ari. I think if there's ever a civilian Purple Heart Award for enduring a Kamala Harris speech, you deserve it. Hands down.
I'm honored. I'm honored. Thank you. That's funny. I like that.
Yes. A dreadfully serious question. I love the city. I've been here for 11 years, and I don't want to leave, but I need you to convince me not to leave. Based on all of the results that could be forthcoming and what we've seen so far.
Okay, I'm going to give you my full-on pitch right here. I'm not leaving. Because why should I leave? They're the ones who suck, right? Like with Michael Bolton in Office Space.
All the time.
Yeah, right. But let's be serious about this for a second here. Let me ask you let me answer your question by asking you a question. Where would you want to go?
That's a good question. I think it would be first choice would be out of the city, maybe stay in the state, but that's not really, that's just kind of rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, of course, so it would be out of state somewhere.
Okay. So let me explain why I asked you that question. Because how you answer that question determines what I would tell you. Because, look, Florida, what, you think they're stopped just because DeSantis won by 20 points? Look at Virginia last night. Virginia, we thought was going red, and it went blue. Everybody was saying New Jersey. I heard a great comparison when I was on Newsmax this morning. The host gave a great analogy. He says New Jersey is the football that Lucy keeps pulling away from Charlie Brown. Keeps saying it's going to go blue, it's going to go red, and it keeps staying blue and staying blue and staying blue and staying blue, but we keep thinking, so you're saying there's a chance. No matter where you go, even if you go to the reddest of the states, will life be better? I'm not arguing that. Will life be cheaper? I'm not arguing that either. But if you do leave Seattle, if you do leave Washington, realize you can't just sit back on your laurels. Because the people who are having that discussion are also the people who vote the other way. How did Washington get this bad? 1 million Californians came up from COVID here to run away from their bad policies. You think they're not looking at Alabama? You think they're not looking at Mississippi, where they can go vote their conscience, but it won't affect anything? Of course they are. And if you need proof of this, I have the mass migration map from COVID where you see the little ants leaving California and where they're going. They're coming here. They're going to Texas. They're going to Florida. But the number one place they went was here. And if you do leave, you can't just say, okay, it's enough for me to listen to Ari Hoffman's show on the KVI app, which you should download right now or stream at KVI.com. You realize is that you have to be in the fight, and I'm not saying you're not right now, but they're coming for every single state. They're the Democrat Socialists of America, not the Democrat Socialists of New York City.
True. Yeah. Yeah, and then if you end up going to a red state where they impose a head tax on you, it's friendly fire because I was born and raised in Texas. If I go back to Texas, will they misidentify me?
Well, don't forget, Texas right now.
No, friendly fire, not me.
No, I'm with you. Don't forget, Texas right now, they're having big issues too. They have Houston. They have Austin. They got their own problems in Texas. In Florida, you got Miami-Dade County, and it may have gone for Trump in the last election. That doesn't mean that's going to continue. Plenty of Californians went there as well. But I'll tell you this, Aaron, I'm going to ask you a favor. If you're staying, we need you to fight. We need you to fight here. We need everybody. We need you out there collecting signatures. I'm going to be out in Gig Harbor in 2 weekends. I'm going to be collecting signatures out in Gig Harbor. These are things we need to do to make sure we still fight. Though I love that you listen to the show, don't get me wrong. You got to do a little bit more than vote these days. It's a little extra effort to stay here, but I think it's worth it, all right?
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Take care, man. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
Well, I was thinking about this while you were talking to Aaron on the phone. I was going to pipe in and say, well, if, should I stay in Seattle? No. Dr. Evil, how about no? You take a path similar to what I've done. I live in SeaTac.
Yeah.
I'm very close to Seattle. I get on 509. I get in the 99 tunnel. It's very easy and very convenient for me to work in Seattle. However, I still live in King County.
Uh-huh.
I still live in Washington State.
Uh-huh. And how those election results go last night in SeaTac, our friend Peter Kwan is in trouble.
Yeah, it's not looking super great.
Exactly.
The only upside to that is if he loses his bid for King County Council, he'll probably very likely stay on the SeaTac Council. So that'll be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, he'll just not resign his position at the SeaTac City Council. So that's fine for me. But regardless, though, I've said on the radio a number of times, Ari, that I can't retire here, but I love it here. I was born in Seattle. I was raised in the North End. The South End has become my home. I've lived on the I-5 corridor my entire life, and it's always been my intention to live my entire life here. But as I get older and I approach middle age and I start thinking about retirement and what the future looks like, I can't afford to stay here.
You know, I had a dream that one day, so the way that my family is situated, I'm a couple blocks away from my in-laws who are across the street from where their parents used to live, who are down the block from where my brother-in-law and sister-in-law live, who are down the block from where my other brother-in-law and it's an everybody loves Raymond situation. And I was hoping to have the same thing with my kids. You think I can afford the houses here now? And you think I can stay here now? Where my kids end up, I want to see grandkids one day. Now, my kids are on the younger side, but how many other people are having that exact same conversation? And let me ask you something else, all you socialists who are so happy about the election results last night, who want to gloat about the election results last night. Did Kshama Sawant make any of your lives better? Have things around here gotten so much better when the socialists took over? Why do you think they're going to get better now? Just because it's your team? I root for the Mets every year. Don't mean they're going to win the World Series. I want them to. They don't. Why do you think anything's going to get better? It won't. It will only get more expensive. And what'll happen is they'll just blame Trump like they always do, because that's what they do. When we come back, my man, my women, my everybody who's listening to the show. Yeah, that was a little odd. I meant to say my friends. Either way, when we come back, the reaction from Capitol Hill. Exactly. The reaction from Capitol Hill is Zorn Mamdani. More your calls, more your texts. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So, Teen Vogue is shutting down their political division. Teen Vogue is shutting down a lot of their magazine, and they laid off all the political people. Why is that in Teen Vogue? Okay, when I was growing up, a lot of my friends were girls. And on Saturdays, when there's not much going on, it was me and a bunch of girls. And what would they be doing? Reading the girly magazines. You know how many times I took those stupid quizzes in 17 magazine? Oh, guess what? I'm not menstruating right now, or whatever it was that they would ask you in these stupid quizzes. Why are you doing politics in Teen Vogue anyway? Plus, here's another question. How many teenagers are reading magazines? You know, the only thing they might get from Teen Vogue is an Instagram follow anyway. And Teen Vogue, we busted them around here. They had reporters based here in Washington. I remember this was my first year on air. First year on air. They had somebody who was shilling for Nicole Thomas Kennedy who didn't disclose the fact that she was working for Nicole Thomas Kennedy's campaign and shilling for them. And then these things were getting picked up by other outlets. The world is better off without Teen Vogue's political end. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Marty in Federal Way. Marty, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, I heard you say earlier in your show that we just need to get the word out more. And as much as I appreciate that, I'm born and raised in Washington. I'm an old retired firefighter, 42 years. I've always voted, conservative. I won't say always Republican, but that is where I lean. And I talk to my friends. I talk to the other firefighters, and we're union, right? And it's all union, but we talk about it, but it is not. I feel a little bit defeated because it's not going to change in Washington.
Okay, so let me give you this for a second. I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish, Marty. Let me just give you this for a second. This was the lowest turnout election, I think, since they started doing mail-in balloting. I have to double check. But it's definitely the lowest mail-in turnout election in Washington State in a long, long time. Nobody showed up for this one. And I would argue one of the many reasons not that many people showed up for this one is because, for example, here in Seattle, we had a choice for mayor between a pile of poo and a pile of garbage. Either way, there's nobody to get excited about. And like I was talking about with Zoran Mamdani had the excitement on his side. He had horrible ideas, but he had the excitement. Nobody was excited about Andrew Cuomo, just out of desperation. Here's how crazy they were. Take the Jewish community, which, by the way, 70% of them voted for Cuomo, not Mamdani. These are huge changes in the Jewish world. I can't believe there's 30% that even voted for the crazy communist terrorist supporter, but 70% of them voted for Cuomo, and Cuomo's the guy who sent in health officials to investigate only the Jewish schools during COVID. That's how desperate they were. That's not how you win elections. Like, take a baseball team. You don't have open tryouts. The only time I know that worked was with Vince Papale on the Eagles. That's the only time I know that worked out. You go and recruit. What do? We wait till these lunatic candidates come along for the GOP. We don't recruit anybody. We have no bench. We have nobody to put up there. And then why did we lose? Well, we had a choice between the Democrat and the crappier Democrat. Of course. And why are things getting worse? I think that's the problem.
But look at how strong Reichert was in that last election for our governor.
Hang on. I gotta stop you there, Marty. He was not. I mean, he was strong with the tight shirts and all, but I don't think he was strong politically because he had. I mean, look, he had name recognition and people liked him. But anytime I interviewed him, I was kind of wondering if he even wanted to be running. He wasn't that great a candidate. It was just somebody with name recognition, and Ferguson blew him out of the water. Plus, we had that whole internal fight, like I was talking about 2 seconds ago, where some random candidate shows up, challenges the guy, and now you've got a whole bunch of disenfranchised voters who are all ticked off about it. And plenty of people said, hey, Reichert, well, I mean, we got nobody else, and he's sort of a Republican, so sure, let's go with that. I don't even think we had a good run last time.
Well, I agree with your one statement that the problem that we seem to have as conservatives, we haven't put a good candidate up there that gets people excited.
Yeah.
And, look at New York. I mean, that guy's so young. what is his experience? You know what they say? He's run a business with 10 people.
Oh, no. He was a failed rapper. Don't forget that. That is life experience right there that rapped about terrorists. He has tons of experience. Marty, appreciate the call, appreciate the concerns, appreciate the conversation. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, ballots are going to be dropping. Will Bruce Harrell hold on to the lead? Will Katie Wilson start eclipsing him? More of your calls, more of your texts. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, GOP Chair Jim Walsh will stop by, tell us if there's any good news and what to do for upcoming elections. But before we get to any of that, got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI, breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
I've got some updated elections results from the Secretary of State's office. So let's just go through some of these in the order I'm seeing them on the Secretary of State website. Washington State Senate Joint Resolution number 8201. This is about letting people invest the funds from the long-term care tax, which was bipartisan approved. Well, it looks like it's actually passing. Last night, I was sitting here with some of the news people who are around late at night, and they said, wow, it looks like this thing may actually fail. And I said, have you gotten the King County results yet? And they said, no. I said, then wait till you get the King County results, because as soon as the King County results come in, you're going to lose any statewide race, because unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's much effort being made in King County in order to win these things. For me, I wanted this thing to fall apart because I want them to have to destroy it and rethink it. Why should we bail them out of the mess they made? Proposition number 1, taxes for the medics. That's passing with close to 80%. As I said, the reason I didn't vote for this thing was because you have more than enough money and you're blowing it on the King County Regional Homeless Authority. You're blowing it on other ridiculous programs. And because of that, you guys should have plenty of money for Medic 1, and you should have plenty of money for the firefighters. You should have plenty of money for this stuff. But instead, you're blowing it by incentivizing homelessness. You're giving out drug paraphernalia to drug addicts, which now have to be treated by the medics. Well done, guys.
It's like I said yesterday. It's like, what, Mike, you don't like the firefighters and the Medic 1 folks? It's like, no, that's fine. Just not this time.
Exactly.
Not this time. Maybe next time, but not this time.
Not this time. Chad Magandaz in the 5th Legislative District looks like he's losing to Victoria Hunt. He's down by 10 points. I don't expect him to make up that gap. However, in some good news, Kevin Schilling is holding on by his fingernails to a lead in front of Edwin Obras, the one who was appointed by the Democrats, who we need to get rid of, in the 33rd Legislative District. Remember, Kevin Schilling's a Democrat, but he's a Democrat that we like. We don't have a lot of those. Scrolling down. Amy Whalen, another common sense Democrat, getting blown out by Vandana Slatter. So it looks like that common sense coalition isn't going to be working out here. Gurmay Zahalai for the King County Executive is still holding on to a lead over Claudia Balducci. It's still tight, though. However, we know those things trend usually more lefty as they come in. So those of you who are big Claudia Balducci fans, I don't see a difference between these two. I really don't. Sarah Perry is beating Rob Watton, which I think she's just a waste of space. Peter Kwan is losing worse than he was losing yesterday in the King County Council race, which is too bad, but at least he'll still be out in SeaTac. Reagan Dunn, here's some a ray of sunshine. Reagan Dunn is winning with 71% for his King County Council seat. That's good news. Scrolling, I'm still looking at King County here. That's what I got right now. Oh, here's something crazy. Nancy Backus, City of Auburn mayor, even with all the scandals that she's been dealing with recently, she's still leading Yolanda Trout. She's still leading in that race, 56% to 42%. Scrolling, I'm looking for other high-profile races we were looking at. Paul Clark losing in Bellevue, 48% to 51% to Vishal Bhargava, and that's unfortunate because that's a socialist. Conrad Lee down 48% to 51% to his socialist challenger, but Jared Neuenhouse, looks like our friend Jared Neuenhouse is going to hold on to his City of Bellevue council seat. That is great news. We love Jared Neuenhouse on the show here. Congratulations to him. Looks like he's going to keep that one. As I'm scrolling here, we'll look for more of the Seattle results when they come in. They have not refreshed yet. So while we wait for those, we go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Leonard in Shoreline. Leonard, what's going on?
Hey, nothing much here. You know, I will predict that people who live in New York City right now, now that Mamdani has won the mayor's race, you want to see Seattle in the 212 area code or the 332 area code, and do you also want to see them with New York license plates coming here to Seattle?
Well, I don't think they're going to come here. In fact, the Google search results last night were fascinating. It was how to pull my kids out of New York City public schools, how to unenroll my kids from New York City public schools. It was how to move to Florida. It was all stuff. Those were the top Google search results last night. And in fact, today, apparently there was an article in the New York Post where a whole bunch of people are considering yanking their kids from New York City public schools, switching them over to private schools. You had the fire chief resign in New York City. He's Jewish, by the way. He resigned already. And you have a lot of developers saying they're canceling projects. Hey, New York may be about to get a whole lot cheaper because a whole lot of people are moving out. It's a fire sale on New York. That might be what's about to happen. Oh, there's one little teeny tiny problem. If you think that's a good thing, you realize that when all those high earners leave, you're now the tax base. That's what's going to happen. Appreciate the call, Leonard. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. Okay, this text here, I'm going to shut this down right now. I knew it was going to be inevitable. Larry, I'm sorry to pick on you, but I'm going to read your text, and then I'm going to tell you why it's not accurate this time. Remember when Dino Rossi ran for governor of Washington State? They said he won. Then the governor said, I have the ballots that needed to be counted, and Rossi lost. Yes, he says, I got my ballot, but no voter's pamphlet. I usually get a voter's pamphlet, but not this time. It's not election fraud if you didn't get your voter's pamphlet. You can look that up on social media. Here's the thing. Only 24% of the electorate showed up to vote, of the registered electorate. It's not voter fraud. It's voter disenfranchisement, which you may think to yourself is another version of voter fraud. But so many people said, well, my choice is a pile of poo or a pile of garbage. Why should I vote for either one of them? That's what it is, Larry, not voter fraud. Stop that. We call out actual voter fraud when we see actual voter fraud. If you want to do something about voter fraud, Larry, what I recommend you do is sign the initiative to make sure we have IDs for voting. The GOP is running that right now. Jim Walsh is joining us at 4:30 to talk about that. The GOP is running that right now. If you're worried about voter fraud, that's what you do. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from our frenemy, protester Bennett. What's going on, man?
Hi, I saw the picture of your alter ego, Ira. I love that you tried to go undercover as a non-Jew, but you're so Jewish that your name backwards is still so Jewish.
Well,
like, what am I gonna do?
I didn't introduce myself as Ira, my friend. But come on. I had people down there doing double takes. I'm not going to name names on the radio. It was kind of funny how they're like, wait a second, is that who I think it is? In fact, one of the protesters even said, you must be going to the Kamala Harris event. Here, have a flyer. So you should just know that, by the way. I don't normally, you know what I normally look like. You've seen me out in the wild.
But as far as like the undercover name thing, it immediately made me think of, have you ever seen the clip? This is real. It's from the Muppet Show, and it's the Count going, they call me Count because I love to count. And then it's Guy Smiley, the Muppet game show host, and he says, well, they call me Guy Smiley because my name is actually Bernie Leibovitz, but my agent told me to change it. That's not a joke. They really said that on the Muppet Show.
Oh, that's great.
Ira, that's immediately what I thought of.
That's very, very good. Very, very good. All right, Bennett, I know you voted opposite of pretty much everybody who's listening to the show right now. What are you excited for exactly?
I mean, you know, I saw the news about Ann Davison losing. At least you'll never know. At this point, you won't have to learn how to pronounce her name correctly. It's Davison, by the way, no D. But I mean, I don't think that had anything to do with the stuff that we talked about on the show.
No. But let me ask you this, Bennett. She's been the focus of your wrath here. Okay, I want to know concretely, what do you want Erica Evans to do that Ann Davison is not doing? Do you think Erica Evans is going to make Seattle safer? Do you think she's going to prosecute crime, or do you not want her to prosecute crime?
I think the thing that has the biggest impact is the housing supply, and everything else is downstream from that. So the sort of grandstanding about, I'm going to have a designated area that if you have a drug conviction, you can't be in that area. You have to stand 10 feet outside of it. All of that. I mean, here's the thing. if homelessness rates are higher in high rent cities than low rent cities, then I'd say that delta has to be caused by rent related evictions.
But hang on
not
a second.
drugs. Now, you might
It's
start
not.
using drugs after you're out
But
on
hang
the
on.
street,
Forget the
but-
drugs for a second. According to King County, according to Seattle, it is not caused by a lack of affordable housing. 70% of those people on the streets at minimum came from somewhere else to get the stuff here. We're incentivizing it. In addition to that, the people are not accepting the units that we have. So I'm going to ask again, if they're taxing the landlords to pay for the affordable housing, aren't they making it less affordable for the renters and for the landlords and for people who own single-family homes?
Well, I want to talk to you about that 70% number. I know the article you're talking about, the Center Square thing.
No, it's not.
Actually...
No, it is not the Center Square thing. That is not where I am getting it from. 4 years since I got into politics, Bennett, and this goes back to 2018, there was a lawsuit going on against Purdue Pharma and against Johnson & Johnson and several other big companies. When King County, when Seattle sued these companies in their own court filings, they wrote that and they stuck to it. And in fact, when the previous attorneys, King County prosecutor and Seattle City attorney, the ones before these guys, were asked about it, they acknowledged that was the facts. I'm not getting anything from the Center Square.
Well, you're talking about the study where they talked about the percentage of homeless people who came from somewhere else. But so I looked that up because I
I'm
was
quoting
curious.
the mayor on that. The mayor said that during the debate. And then Jenny Durkin, said that. Jenny Durkin said that it was 50% when she left office, Bennett.
Okay, but I looked up the study that you're all talking about. People referring back to the same study, and I looked up what it said. What it actually said was 70% of the homeless in Seattle were born somewhere else, that actually is not much higher than the non-homeless population in Seattle. A lot of people here were born somewhere else. So the number that I think is more relevant is they said 50% of the people in Seattle who are homeless.
I think we're talking about
homeless in another city.
Time out. I think we're talking about two different studies. Because the study I saw had nothing to do with being born. It had to do with where you went to high school and college. But anyway, Bennett, I think there's a problem here. I think there's a flaw with the data you're looking at. I think that's the issue here. And the policies that Katie Wilson is suggesting with freezing rent, that makes rent more expensive. They have rent control in Manhattan, and the rates have only gone up. Appreciate the call, though. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. My mom has entered the chat, Mike. She's a realtor in New York, and she has texted the show today with the realtor's perspective on this.
Not to be confused with a Mom Donnie.
Oh, very good. Very good. Okay, here's a note from good old Mom. I'm reading the text exactly. As a realtor in New York City, we've been through 9/11, 2008, and COVID, and for the first couple months, people did flee. The city and prices went down, but each time after about 6 to 8 months, the city came roaring back as it reinvented itself like it always does. I think it would be great if prices go down so more younger people could start getting into the housing market. Okay, Mom, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but what I am saying here is that if the prices go down, it's not because of any policies, or rather, it's a reaction to those policies of people fleeing. So it's still not the policies that are driving anything down. Mike, I'm looking at the races. I don't see it refreshing yet. Hasn't refreshed at all? Okay, King County has not refreshed, so we have no update for you yet regarding the mayoral race. As soon as it does, we will bring it to you. Last night was entertaining because after Mom Donnie said this...
After all, the conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist.
Okay, so after that fun, and after a lot of other divisive language, some Democrats went, whoa, what happened to that nice guy who does all the TikToks? What happened to him? Here's Van Jones on CNN.
I think he missed an opportunity. I think the Mom Donnie that we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing, was not present in that speech. And I think that Mamdani is the one you need to hear from tonight. There are a lot of people trying to figure out, can I get on this train with him or not? Is he going to include me? Is he going to be more of a class warrior even in office? I think he missed a chance tonight to open up and bring more people into the tent. I think his tone was sharp. I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling. And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great interviews and stuff like that. So I felt like there's a little bit of a character switch here where the warm, open, embracing guy that's close to working people was not on stage tonight, and there was some other voice on stage. That said, he's very young, and he just pulled off something that's very, very difficult. And I wouldn't write him off, but I think he missed an opportunity to open himself up tonight, and I think that will probably cost him going forward.
That's Van Jones from CNN. He is definitely not my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. He is definitely far, far, far left without being totally crazy. You could still have a conversation with the guy. Young Zach got a picture with him at the airport leaving the RNC. Very nice guy, Zach said. But regarding what he just said, oh, you fell for the act? You mean the guy who was out there cheering on Hamas is mean? You mean he's not actually nice? You mean he's divisive? Oh, I'm shocked. How did I not see this coming? Do you know who was at his election night party? Hassan Piker, the guy who said America deserved 9/11. Mehdi Hassan, who compared anybody who's not Muslim to animals and got booted off of MSNBC for being a raging anti-Semite. Mahmoud Khalil, the illegal alien who we want to deport, who ran Hamas events, locked people of color who were janitors in buildings at Columbia University. Jamal Bowman, who got booted out of Congress for being a terrible congressman, for pulling fire alarms when he didn't want to vote, and for being a radical Jew hater. That's who was at his event last night. That is who was there. That's who was on his guest list. And they're all hanging out together and hugging each other. Speaker Johnson had the perfect reaction to last night's election results.
Happened in New York City last night. For the first time in American history, an avowed, openly proclaimed socialist has been elected as the mayor of America's largest city. Zoran Mandami is without a doubt the biggest win for socialism in the history of the country, and it is the biggest loss for the American people. He is truly a committed Marxist. And the results of that race tell you everything you need to know about where the Democrats and their party are headed.
Exactly. So this is a chance for the GOP to capitalize, and you have to make a very good marketing plan, laying out clearly how this is helping the average American, and Americans got to feel it too. It can't be like the Biden administration, where it's just the stuff they post online, and you go, well, then how come my wallet and my savings account are still not doing great? You got to actually make them feel it. I love President Trump's policies. Some of them are going to take a while. The question is here, Doge, where's Doge? Haven't heard from them in months. Literally in months. Haven't heard from them at all. And you need to be cutting things if you want to be spending on big, bad military equipment. If you want to be spending on that kind of stuff, you got to cut other things. Now, I know they're doing stuff with the benefits packages, and I know they have to fight, but you know what? You only got another year where it's guaranteed you have the branches of government that we have right now. You don't know what's going to happen in 2026. Do all the Doge rescissions right now and watch what happens to the market. Do $650 billion in Doge rescissions, and you'll see how that affects the dollar. That's the kind of stuff you got to do. You start doing that, you might even get back your AAA credit ratings, which were lost under Obama, which were lost under Biden. You get those back, you're going to see the economy take off. Why can't Congress do that? Speaker Johnson, serious question. Why can't you guys do that? When we come back, lots more of your calls, lots more of your texts, plus massive revelations about a prevented Halloween terrorist attack. We'll give you all those details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to download the KVI app so that way you can enter to win our latest contest to come with us to an advanced screening of The Running Man. That's right, you get to join me, Big Mike, and Zach from The Morning Ride for an advanced screening of The Running Man at Pacific Place on November 10th. That's 4 days before it is released in theaters, Dolby Cinema, 4DX, Premium Large Format, and IMAX on November 14th. Download the KVI app right now from the App Store or from Apple, and that way, make sure you never miss a minute of the show, but also you can enter to win our contest. And come see The Running Man starring Glenn Powell with the entire KVI crew. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Pete in Florida. Pete, how are you listening to us today?
Over the internet.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Ari.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
I got to tell you, well, if they want to come down from New York, we're waiting for them to put on the exit tax, and then we'll slap them with an entrance tax. But anyway.
Yeah.
I am really upset about everybody trying to call Zamboni a communist or a socialist. He is an entrance for the caliphate into the U.S. They've already got Texas. They've got Dearborn, that's Michigan. And they've got Western Europe. They're very dangerous.
Well, I'll tell you this, don't forget that guy, Omar Fatah. He lost in Minneapolis last night.
I know, that's
so
why
there's
I had
that
to
one
get
there.
rid
And
of.
I will tell you this, is that you can be a communist and be a Marxist at the same time. And you can also be a communist and be an Islamist at the same time. But as I said at the beginning of the show, realize a lot of this is very similar to the Iranian Revolution. That's the most similar. I know some people are like the rise of Hitler. No, this is very similar. Actually, technically, the Nazis, whole different story. But the rise of the Iranian Revolution, the Ayatollahs, was done using the leftist students in Libya. The rise of Sharia and all that insanity was done using the leftist students. Very, very similar analogy. Pete, make sure you keep listening to the show so you can update us and you call in about all those people fleeing New York. I want the next time I turn on a Mets game and they're playing the Marlins, I want to hear Let's Go Mets from those stands louder than I normally do, okay?
Yeah, the Mets will be in Sarasota.
Yeah, no, but they come down to play the Marlins. Appreciate the call, Pete. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We had a text that asked us about Federal Way. I'm looking at the results from Federal Way right now. Jim Farrell is still in the lead with 67% for mayor over Susan Honda. Council position number 2, you've got Martin Moore still leading Nathan Orth with 75% of the vote. I think that's a done deal. City of Federal Way position number 4, Melissa Hamilton is over Tammy Dziak with 65% of the vote. I think that's a done deal too. City of Federal Way position number 6, Les Sessions is leading Jack Dovey, but that's a close one. It's 50-48. Brad Bales was uncontested. Municipal Court Judge Daniel Havens is beating our friend Mitch Green. That's disappointing. So, yeah, those are the results that we have out of Federal Way right now. We'll keep an eye on those. But in the meantime, we go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Rob in Leavenworth. Rob, I love Leavenworth. How is it this time of year? You got snow yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm heading on Highway 2, and it's okay. There's no snow. None that passed.
Okay.
The
Good
reason
deal.
I was calling, my comment is the sheep have no mirrors.
You mean they can't see what they're cheering for? They can't see what they're causing? They can't see that? You mean like the people cheering for Kamala at Kamala Harris's event for Mom Donnie? Is that what you're talking about?
All of it. All of the socialists, all of the libtard demon rats, they're all hypnotized. They do not realize they're sheep following Satan's child.
Well, think about this for a second. I'm going to pull this clip up. Where is it? Right here. I'm going to play this clip for you one more time. This was last night at Kamala Harris's event at a packed Benaroya Hall as the so-called Democrats are cheering the guy whose organization says they want to destroy their own party. This was Benaroya Hall last night with Kamala Harris.
You have a Virginia Attorney General, Jay Jones. And as of just a few moments ago. Hey, New York City has a new mayor.
They couldn't even get through saying his name before the room erupted into cheers. I think that's exactly what you're talking about, Rob. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Sandy in Renton. Sandy, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Mondavi's pushing that he's Muslim, and I'm just wondering how the alphabet group is going to handle being behind the Muslim group.
Well, so that was fascinating. We saw that on Saturday night. Mamdani was going out to the club scene in New York City. And he goes to a bunch of gay bars, and they're all cheering him because don't forget, we've got Queers for Hamas these days. You know, the LGBTQIA people are supporting a terrorist organization that would throw the people who identify as such off the nearest tall building if there were any tall buildings left in Gaza. So you look at this, and this is the unholy alliance between everybody that the radical people like Zoran Mamdani and the Democrat Socialists of America use as useful idiots to infiltrate a place. And those cheering sheep in Seattle is exactly what we are talking about. Exactly that. Appreciate the call, Sandy. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Got time for one more quick call. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's up, man?
I'm just wondering, how exactly is this a loss for the Republican Party when terrorist-supporting communist Democrats once again vote for terrorist-supported communist Democrats? And they've done this for 50 years now. Wouldn't we just call this just another Democrat election?
Exactly. I didn't see that many Republicans in this election. The Democrats are celebrating it, but like the analogy I've been using the whole show, the Democrats didn't win anything last night. The Democratic Socialists won something last night. That's like the single A minor league team for the Dodgers saying, we won the World Series. No, you really, really didn't, guys. And if you did, you're signing your own political death warrants because they want all of your jobs. You kidding me? You know that right now AOC is thinking to herself, okay, time to take on Chuck Schumer. That's what we're going to see next. Appreciate the call, Ron. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, GOP Chair for Washington, Jim Walsh, will be joining us to analyze some of these election results and then more results, including out of Seattle and other parts of King County. In the mayoral race, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, coming off the loss of last night that we saw across the country, the question is, how do you recover from something like that in a place like Washington State? Joining me now to discuss on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, Chair of the Washington State GOP, Representative Jim Walsh from Aberdeen. Thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, it's good to talk to you, Ari. It's been quite a few days here in Washington.
It really has. Now, there's something you and I disagreed about a long time ago, which was you were talking about the art of war, and you were talking about picking your battles and how we have limited resources, so we need to put them in the most amount of places. Well, the Democrats, Socialists of America, literally took your strategy, and that's what they've been doing across the country to major gains. So I guess, how do we start refocusing on school boards? How do we start refocusing on smaller city councils? How do we start refocusing on that? Because that may be the key to success, is just do what they're doing, which you originally said we should be doing.
And we are, Ari. We are doing that here. The most successful program that the Washington State Republican Party has going is our school board program, where we get behind the conservative, what we call common sense conservative school board candidates who want to get the focus of our public schools back on reading, writing, math, and the hard sciences, and not on political indoctrination. And we're having really solid success there. I mean, we don't win them all, but we win most of them. And that's building a larger and larger conservative caucus within WASDA. That's the State School Directors Association that sets a lot of the model policies for public schools in Washington. And this kind of thing, the school board races, the conservatives that are a growing part of WASDA, that it doesn't get the attention that Ferguson and Reich get, but it has a lot more to do with the day-to-day reality of being a teacher, teaching kids, administering a school than most people realize. So that is a place where we're doing good work and improving things. We just need to do it more.
We're talking with GOP Chair of Washington, Representative Jim Walsh from Aberdeen. And I'm looking at these races, and I'm seeing a lot of really bad bellwethers for Republicans here in Washington. But then I realize we're not fighting Democrats anymore. We're fighting the socialists. And the Democrats are either buying into that or they're not buying into that. I was in a room last night with everybody who was there to see Kamala Harris. And these people were all cheering that Mamdani got elected. I don't think we're fighting a Democrat party anymore. I don't think we've been fighting a Democrat party for a very, very long time. We're fighting a socialist party. How do you get that message out to everybody?
Well, the facts speak for themselves, Ari. I mean, regular people in Washington are under increased pressure in their daily lives. I mean, the cost of living is skyrocketing. Property taxes. I tell you, I hear more about property taxes even than gas and diesel prices from people. They're really worried about property taxes rising in the state and chasing them out of their homes. And I think this is there. It's a little under the surface. It's a little subterranean to most headline news. But these concerns are there. People are seeing it. And what we saw last night here in Washington was largely the establishment holding its position. Not a lot changed. Sadly, we were hoping that we could flip a couple of legislative seats, and we may still do that yet, Ari. But what really happened here was no great surprises. It was just the left-leaning establishment basically protecting its position. They can do that for a while, but they can't do that forever. When Bob Ferguson is going to raise taxes and probably start a state income tax or try to do that in the next legislative session, they can't hold their position forever and pass all these bad policies.
So how do you get the message out? Because something that's infuriating to me is when Bob Ferguson does his thing and he blames all his bad policies that are failing on Donald Trump, even though Trump had nothing to do with them whatsoever. How do you get that message out there? Because I think the biggest problem we have is a messaging problem where the Democrats are responsible for all this misery here in Washington when gas prices are going down everywhere else, but they're skyrocketing here, sometimes to be the top in the country. The message that's the Democrats who did that is not resonating. How do you fix that?
Well, we keep telling the truth. We keep showing gas prices here versus elsewhere. Every time I do that on social media, Ari, it gets 50 or 100,000 views. We keep talking about property taxes and giving especially older people some kind of break on the property taxes they have to pay, or they're going to get taxed out of their homes. It's already happening with young people, Ari. Young people in Washington don't like what they see. And it's one of the underreported secrets of the last couple of election cycles that voters under 40 are splitting very evenly between Republican and Democrat candidates. And that's really a great future indicator. But for the moment, there just aren't enough of them to change the elections.
In the last few minutes, we have with Representative Jim Walsh, chair of the Washington State GOP. So what do we do? Because we got 2026 coming up, and the last midterm election kind of handed us this mess we're in right now. You got to campaign with all the same issues on the field. You also have to campaign with the fact that I don't see that many people stepping up to run. I don't think we have a lot of name recognition for a lot of people who have run. I see a lot of the same people running and running and running. What do we do to completely flip this on its head so that we have a direction to go in? I'm looking for a direction to go right.
I think we talk about being sane. We talk about common sense. We talk about being normal. What I've told young Republicans and turning point people all around our state whose numbers are growing fast is just show up and be normal. They're so worried. Younger people, including potentially younger candidates for office who aren't socialists, who are normal, who are ordinary Americans, they're afraid they don't know enough. They're afraid they're not part of Democrats, Socialists of America, which indoctrinates its members from high school forward. They're like, I'm just a regular person. I'm a regular gal. I'm not into politics that much, but I want to help. I want to fix what's broken. And our watchword is just show up to the meetings and be normal. Use common sense. This will take the day. Bob Ferguson can't be his eccentric self and hold his position forever. Chris Reichel can't ruin our public schools, try to hide the damage and fail at that and keep his position forever. It just won't hold. And in time, and I think next year could be it. It's going to turn. We're going to have a Berlin Wall situation where there were cracks, and then the thing just falls down, collapses, because it can't withstand.
I hope that you're right. I hope those words are prophetic, and I hope that's what we see next time. But I encourage everybody who's out there, if you've ever thought about running for office, I will help you. I'm sure Representative Walsh will help you. Step up, be in touch with me, email me, ari@kvi.com, because right now we need good people to step up so we can fix this. Because there were too many uncontested races and too many people who didn't step up this time. It's not enough to just vote anymore. Representative Jim Walsh, chair of the Washington State GOP, thank you so much for being with us today. Really do appreciate it.
Always good to talk to you, Ari.
Always a pleasure.
Keep doing what you're doing, please.
Thank you, sir. We got a whole lot more to talk about as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to join the KVI crew out at the Auburn Veterans Day Parade on November 8th. That's this coming Saturday. It's one of the largest Veterans Day parades in the country. And you're going to see over 150 military units, marching bands, military vehicles, and more marching along Main Street. Look for Phil and Zach from the Morning Ride, along with Big Mike, along with our sisters stations, 101.5 Hank FM and Northwest News Radio, and hang out with us at the KVI booth after the parade. That's the Auburn Veterans Day Parade this Saturday, November 8th. You can get more information at kvi.com. I know a lot of you are holding, but right now we got some breaking news before we go back to the phone lines.
Talk Radio 570 KVI, breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
I'm looking at the latest results for the Seattle mayoral race, and it's, I guess, good news because Bruce Harrell has extended his lead over Katie Wilson from 7% to 8%. However, there's something weird here today where the math ain't mathing. As I'm looking at this, I'm comparing it to the numbers that came in earlier, and the numbers were different, and they were higher earlier. Did you get rid of some ballots? Also, your percentages don't math. They don't equal 100%. They equal over 100%. I'm not claiming voter fraud, but at the same time, it's a little goofy. Now, Bruce Harrell increasing his lead over Katie Wilson is a good thing. However, these socialists who are winning for the Seattle City Council have increased their leads as well. I want to remind everybody a little history because I'm old enough to remember when Bruce Harrell was the president of the Seattle City Council. And don't forget, it works just like Washington, D.C., where the council comes up with legislation and then the mayor executes it. So, president of the Seattle City Council, who did he cave to all the time? Kshama Sawant, Teresa Mosqueda, all the crazy left-wing socialists. Do you guys not remember, or did you guys forget so quickly, how Bruce Harrell caved and passed the head tax, even though everybody in Seattle was against it? And then only later, when his buddies in the Chamber of Commerce came and said, we're not going to vote for you, we're not going to support you if you have more political ambitions, then he said, we really got to get rid of this thing. So Bruce Harrell, with a socialist Seattle City Council, I know you guys didn't want Katie Wilson, and I get there's a little bit of a bulwark, but at the same time, this is not the greatest news in the world because he has a track record of caving to these lunatics. I don't want to make everything seem all doom and gloom. I'm just being a realist based on history. It's good that Katie Wilson will not be mayor, or at least right now it doesn't look like she's going to be mayor. Let's just keep hoping that it holds this trend so that she doesn't become mayor. This is something we definitely got to keep an eye on as we continue going. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Jay in Puyallup. Jay, what's up, man?
Yeah, Ari, I was trying to vote, finishing up my ballot the other day on Tuesday, and I picked up what looked to be like a voter's guide, and it had an article in there with Jayapal was the speaker at a rally. And interesting thing she brought up. She said one of our famous founding fathers said something as he was leaving the Constitutional Convention. Someone asked him, what kind of government have you given us? A monarchy or a republic? And Jayapal actually correctly quoted Ben Franklin and said, a republic, if you can keep it.
Mm-hmm.
And do you notice how, I don't know, I notice this a lot, that there's so much in the news and famous people saying, oh, our democracy is under attack. We these right-wing people, the MAGA people are attacking our democracy. And, I always think we don't have a democracy. We have a republic.
So I don't get hung up on that, but I find it ironic that Jayapal's the one saying that when she's the one who wants to let illegal aliens vote against our laws, when she's the one who supports the Antifa and Hamas lunatics, who clearly are not in favor of democracy. So even though she correctly did it, it's just because it suits her own purposes.
Yeah, well, maybe so, but you very rarely ever have a left winger admitting that we are a republic, not a democracy. Of course, she didn't add the "not a democracy" part, but she did quote Ben Franklin correctly, which I was very happy to hear.
Yeah, small things. Small things.
Okay, thank you, Ari. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, buddy. Jay, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from George in Kenmore. George, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. Yeah, the constitutional republic, I think, is what we officially are. But
yes.
Yeah, I know what he's saying. The Democrats always twist it to make it sound like a Democrat. Anyway, the Democratic Social Germans Workers' Party, Hindenburg changed, or he changed the name to that, and it became the Nazi Party.
Mm-hmm.
So just to shorten it up, Demonazis.
Well, I'm saying is that you have a lot more in common. Which party was the one that kept slavery? Which party was the one that didn't want civil rights laws? Which one was all those parties? I just want to remind everybody of that little fun fact. George, appreciate the call. Appreciate the historical reminder. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Okay. You guys want to see the closest race on the ballot when you think your vote doesn't matter? One of our texters just sent this one in. City of Clyde Hill, council position number 1. Lisa Weissner Slivka has 250 votes. Lynn Adams, 247 votes. That's 3-vote difference in the city of Clyde Hill. City of Carnation, Max Volker is up with 222 votes over Rana Joshi to 191 votes. Your votes matter in these small places, guys. Clyde Hill, here's another one. Jennifer Michelle Nelson, 255 votes. Brad Andonian, 237 votes. Do you see how close these things are? So close. Really, really close. When we come back, more election results for you and more of Kamala Harris's insanity last night at Benaroya Hall. We'll have that plus more of your calls and more of your texts. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves or weigh in on election results, give us a call or a text on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a Portland council member is a victim of their own bad policies. But before we get to any of that, I'm looking at more of these election results we just got in because the Secretary of State updated their website with the King County results. Eddie Lynn in Seattle City Council District Number 2 is destroying Adonis Ducksworth. And I'll say here, I didn't see the difference between them. I really just didn't. So it's no surprise that the progressives went with the more progressive, stranger-endorsed guy. Alexis Mercedes Rink has 78% of the vote. She has beaten Rachel Savage. Rachel Savage is not going to win that. It's too bad I like Rachel Savage, but I didn't really think she was going to win this one. However, I just want to remind everybody who's going, oh, thank God Bruce Harrell's winning. You know, Bruce Harrell proposed a tax with on all of you to pacify the left going into this election. Alexis Mercedes Rink. So when I was talking about, hey guys, Bruce Harrell will bend the knee to a socialist city council. Yeah, he's going to. Diane Foster is beating Sarah Nelson. I mean, that's 57 to 41%. There's no coming back from that. Ann Davidson is definitely losing this race to Erica Evans. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Ann, who ran very aggressive campaigns in the past, I don't know who was running her campaign this time. That person should never have a job in politics again. Really should not. In fact, whoever ran Bruce Harrell's campaign, even if he wins, this thing was a disaster. You know who saved Bruce Harrell? I'm going to tell you who saved Bruce Harrell. The PACs saved Bruce Harrell. Now, that's another argument for getting rid of democracy vouchers. I can't wait to see how much money was in this election because I guarantee you the PAC spent more than ever before, and the democracy vouchers played almost no role whatsoever. So they're taxing us so they can give it to political candidates, and it's not keeping big money out of politics. There's more than ever before. So I'd argue let's get rid of that. So earlier in the show, I was telling you about how I went to a Kamala Harris book tour event last night at Ben Arroyo Hall. Had a funny moment last night where my wife was meeting me down there. So I hopped on the train. I took the monorail from the station because we're near Seattle Center. And then I took it on over to the light rail. I got on the light rail without paying because nobody was paying for the light rail like everybody else. And I wanted the true experience of being a lefty. So I wanted to get on that light rail without paying. So get on that thing in my little disguise with my glasses and my little newsboy cap and my sweater and my I voted sticker. And wouldn't you know that on the light rail with me are a bunch of the Hamasniks that are planning on going and protesting Kamala Harris. So I actually saw which direction they were going, and I don't take the light rail very often, so I'm wondering, which way is Ben Arroyo Hall? Let's follow the Hamasniks. I'm sure they know which direction we're going in. But something funny is my wife was there with me last night, and she was at Ben Arroyo Hall long before I was. Now, here's something you got to think about. I don't know how much the tickets cost last night, but because by the time I went to check it out, we got media passes. But by the time we went to check it out, the registration was already closed, and I couldn't see how much the ticket prices were. For those of you who don't know, Ben Arroyo Hall is a more expensive venue. And then you got parking at Ben Arroyo Hall. And then they gave out Kamala's book at Ben Arroyo Hall. I don't know if they were paying $75, $100, $150 a ticket, but the parking was free. The parking was free. The book was free. And they packed the joint. Absolutely packed the joint. Now, Kamala Harris got interrupted multiple times by the pro-Hamas lunatics. Here, give a listen to the first time it happened. Now, I couldn't tell if they were mad that he was interrupting Kamala Harris or defending Israel, because these were all pro-Hamas protesters. I don't think it was on the Israel side, but I'll pretend that it was let's just pretend that it was for a second. I mean, the interruptions were so frequent that audience members had to help remove the anti-Israel activists. Yeah, you had random people from the audience grabbing these guys around the midsection and dragging them out.
How embarrassing. This is so embarrassing.
How embarrassing. Exactly. Yeah, get him out of there. Get him out of there. This happened like 5 times, guys.
I'm sure there are other people here that may want to get up, and so let me. I get that. I would not exist if it were people who were active in protesting injustice. So I understand that.
You know, these sheep that are applauding Kamala Harris, our friend Matt Gilbert put up a great post on one of my tweets about all this yesterday. It definitely reminds me of a line from a movie, because you know how they were all cheering when they heard Mamdani got elected? Remember I played this clip for you?
You have a Virginia Attorney General, Jay Jones.
Yeah, cheer for the guy who talked about killing Republicans.
Just a few moments ago, New York City has a
Look how excited they all are. Reminded me of a line from a certain movie.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
Exactly. These guys are literally cheering for a guy who supports Sharia law, a guy who supports terrorism, a guy who hates Jews, a guy who loves communism. That's who they're cheering for, a guy who hates capitalism. It's interesting because Kamala Harris got a question I didn't expect last night. The moderator asked her a question about about Congress's resolution to condemn the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the Democrats who didn't vote for it. Here's what she said.
But look at what's happening in terms of the dynamic. There is an overt agenda to make us stop talking about these issues.
Hang on a second. Charlie Kirk was all about discussing the issues. What are you talking about? No, really, what is she talking about there? I don't understand it. Before that, before the camera turned on, she was talking about xenophobia and racism. Is she trying to call Charlie Kirk a xenophobic racist or something? Here's the rest of what she said.
Much less those who are pushing hate and racism and xenophobia. And so we have to have those difficult conversations, and we have to speak out where we see it. And I also believe no one should be made to fight alone.
She talks in such circles, I don't know what she was saying. Was she saying Charlie Kirk was a xenophobic, racist, homophobe? Or was she saying we need to have difficult conversations with people we disagree with? Mike, I have no idea. I have no clue what she was. I really have no idea what she was talking about. Now, the anti-Israel protesters were so frequent that she went off script. Now, let me explain to you what this event was. She was basically just memorized her book and quoting passages from the book. And she wasn't even saying, find out more about this in my book, which you just got for free, or my podcast, or anything like that. It was basically just her reciting the book because there's not much upstairs. But the anti-Israel protesters were so frequent during her speech last night that she went off script and actually addressed the Israel thing. Now, what's crazy is at one point before this, before I play this clip for you, the moderator was saying to the protesters, if they only knew you like I do, they would know you agree with them. Wait, what? Wait, hey, hang on. Hang on a second. Now, we know this. I've read Kamala Harris's book. Mike, I was so upset. I forgot the book last night. That was my prop for my costume. I forgot the book. And I wanted to bring it and try and get an autograph. That wasn't happening, by the way. There was no mingling time with the Kamala. But Kamala Harris, in her book, says, yes, we should defend Israel, almost like it was cut and paste in there, but then talks about how much she didn't like what they were doing. That's kind of what she did last night, where you heard the real Kamala demonize Israel, demonize Netanyahu, demonize Trump, demonize the peace deal, and not once in this rambling nonsense that she's spewing, where she has more in common with those people out on the street protesting, does she condemn Hamas or condemn October 7th? Not once. Give a listen to this nonsense.
I actually write about the issue of what has been happening in Gaza in my book. And I will tell you, a lot of what this process has been for me has been about reflection. Look, we should have done more as an administration. We should have done more. about our criticism of the way that Netanyahu and his government were executing this war. We should have used, we had more levers in terms of leverage that we did not use. And I write about this in the book. I look at this moment and I am happy that there is a ceasefire. We will see how long it lasts, that the hostages have been returned. But let's be very clear that the inhuman nature of what has happened to the Palestinian people in Gaza, the innocent civilians, the extent of hunger, famine, suffering, death.
Stop right there. Stop right there for a second. Oh, the innocent Palestinians. First of all, lady, your information's out of date. UNICEF released a new report showing there was never famine or hunger in Gaza. That was all a complete lie, which the UN helped promote before admitting it never happened. That's number one. Number two, what about the innocent victims of October 7th? What about them? Didn't hear you talk about that. Instead, it's all about the innocent Palestinians. How about we mention Hamas? You demonize Netanyahu, you demonize Trump, you demonize the peace plan. Didn't hear you demonize the terrorist organization.
It's something that we must acknowledge. And I recognize that. I write about it in the book. I gave a speech 5 months into the war.
Hang on, before we get to her dumb speech 5 months into the war that we made fun of on the show about her ignorance. Why are you all booing the protesters but clapping her? They're saying the same thing. They're saying the same thing. Why are you booing the protesters and applauding for her? Because she's saying it politely? Because you voted for her? It's the same thing. It's the same picture. It's the same picture. It's the meme right there.
At the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday. And I spoke publicly, the highest official in the country, about the starvation that was happening in Gaza. In fact, I also write in the book about how there were plenty of folks in the White House that were not happy about me speaking out that way. But I did. So I understand the feeling and the emotion behind the folks who have spoken out tonight. We have work to do. We need to ensure, and I also have noticed how this administration not only gave a blank check to Netanyahu for the first 9 months, but also has shown no commitment to it the day after in terms of the security.
Fact check. Have you read the peace deal, lady? Have you read it? It's all in there. Everything you're saying the day after, it's all literally in there. Just Hamas has to keep up their end of the deal. The Palestinians have to do it. The international community has to do it. The Arab countries have to do it. Did you even read it? I'm kind of wondering if you read your own book. Maybe you memorized certain passages of it, but did you even read the peace deal? It's like a bizarro land alternate reality.
Of the people of that region, but in particular, the need for governance of Gaza, rebuilding of Gaza, no changing of the territorial lines. There is work to be done, and I appreciate the emotion and the sentiment.
What about the security of Israel? Kamala Harris is literally taking the sides of the very protesters. You know, like the protesters out in the streets who have no idea even what they're protesting for, even when they're holding a chant sheet in their hands.
How many kids did you kill today? How many kids did you kill today? Kamala, Kamala, you can't. Kamala, you can't. You COVID.
That's just, you're reading off the chant sheet and you can't even get it right. Are you kidding me with this? There's really no difference between Kamala Harris and the people who are yelling and screaming, except they're yelling and screaming and she's being polite. I don't see a difference. These lunatics out on the street, they were holding up the name of some random terrorist. He was killed by Palestinian terrorists when they're fighting over territory in Gaza, not by Israel assassinating Palestinian terrorists. You know what else I saw in the crowd? It wasn't just the anti-Israel folks. I saw a lot of red stars with hammers and sickles. In fact, I posted a picture of one of them who's got a mask on with all that. It's communists and the anti-Israel group. And by the way, that was the most diverse group of old white people I have ever seen. What a diverse group of old white people. Truly amazing. How many old white people were in that group? Yeah, there were like 2 young people. But seriously, guys, this is the left. The left has built this crazy coalition of these anti-Semitic, anti-capitalist, anti-American, pro-terrorist lunatics. And that's what you got. Now, the left doesn't call out their lunatics. At first, I was happy because they were pulling the protesters out of the room, but Kamala Harris just agreed with the protesters. That's what she just said. And the room applauded. They're the same people. This is your coalition. I think about what's going on the right, which we've been discussing for 2 weeks, this little civil war on the right. Forget if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, but I'm going to point something out to you. Wouldn't it have been nice if some of these people with larger platforms than I have had on Earl Winsome Sears before her race? Instead, they're busy platforming neo-Nazis. Would have been nice if they had Citrone Anelli, or however you pronounce his name, in New Jersey, instead of maybe platforming Holocaust deniers. Wouldn't that have been the way to go? Get some more support, be part of the cause? Mike, how many candidates have we had on the show who didn't have a chance? Not a chance, but we want to help them a little bit. We want to help them a little bit, so we had them on the show. And you know what? It wasn't always the most engaging content. We've been a little bit more selective. But at the same time, we try to help people get elected. Why were they platforming Nick Fuentes? Why was Tucker Carlson platforming him? When with the amount of audience he has, maybe he could have gotten a few more donations for these people. Maybe he could have gotten a little bit more support. Scott Pressler worked his tail off in New Jersey. Worked his tail off. He can't do it alone. We're all counting on that giant of a man with the super long hair to win these elections for us. Who's helping him out? I know he's got his little army, but who's helping him out? This internal civil war that we're having over on the right, imagine if all that gas, all that oxygen have been spent on actually helping candidates win. Earlier in the show, I talked about who was at Mamdani's election night party. You had Mehdi Hassan, the guy who got fired from MSNBC for comparing anybody who's not a Muslim, the infidels, to pigs and animals and all that. Charming fellow. You had Mahmoud Khalil, the guy who's affiliated with Hamas and was advocating for Hamas at Columbia and was attacking and was leading the attacks on Jews and locking janitors in buildings at Columbia and who was here illegally, who should be deported. You had Hassan Piker, the guy who said America deserved 9/11. And they're all hanging out together. You know who else was at this event? I saw the video right before we went on air, Mike. Nick Fuentes' Groypers. They were at the party wearing their little blue hats that say America First. You know why they're blue? Because they don't support Donald Trump anymore. And they supported Kamala Harris because they hated Donald Trump so much. And they want to be different than the America First thing. That's why. Imagine if all the oxygen that's being given to the white supremacist, to the Holocaust deniers, to everybody else who hates Jews or hates Israel or anything else like that, was actually spent on getting these candidates elected. I'm not saying they would have won, but it would have been closer. But for the lead up to the election, the last 2 weeks, well, we've been talking about the GOP civil war. Tell me again how this wasn't a psyop to get us off topic when they're at Mamdani's election night party. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. More of your texts, plus also the would-be Halloween terrorist attack that was prevented. We're finding out more about it, and the details are truly horrifying. We'll give them to you when we come back. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to download the KVI app so you can enter to win tickets to an advanced screening of The Running Man, and you get to go with me, Mike, and Zach. That's half the fun right there, by the way, is Mike's internal, or excuse me, I should say not internal. Mike's running commentary of the movie is half the fun. That's right, you get to see Glenn Powell starring in the remake of The Running Man, which I've been very, very excited for a very, very long time. And you get to see it 4 days before it is released in theaters. Dolby Cinema, 4DX, Premium Large Format, and IMAX on November 14th. We're going on November 10th, and we're going to Pacific Place. So make sure you download the KVI app right now. Click on that little sucker that says Enter Here to Win, so that way you can be entered to win. And the good news is, so many of you are downloading it, so many of you are entering the contest, we're going to try and get a few more tickets for you, and I think we may have actually been able to secure those tickets. So make sure you download the KVI app right now, enter to win on the KVI app, and you may find yourself with 2 free tickets to go with us on Monday to see The Running Man. And believe me, if all of a sudden you see a Sub-Zero or a Fireball on that screen, I will be chanting Captain Freedom. I will be very, very excited if those things show up on screen. Yeah, that movie really, really needed a remake. Meanwhile, in other news, according to Fox News, federal authorities have arrested the brother of an alleged Michigan terror plotter and 2 young New Jersey men in connection with a thwarted plot to shoot up an LGBT bar in suburban Detroit on Halloween. So, was this a conservative person? Was this a MAGA person? The latest charge is 19-year-old Ayub Nasser, according to the Justice Department. He is the brother of Muhammad Ali. I don't think it's that Muhammad Ali, who was arrested Friday along with a friend named Majed Muhammad, also 20. I thought it was going to be the Presbyterians. Can anybody tell me why the LGBTQIA plus minus divided sign, $ amperstamp are still on the side of the jihadis? Can somebody please explain that one to me? I don't understand it. In New Jersey, authorities arrested Thomas Khan Jinaz Guzal and Milo Sidarat on Tuesday. They don't sound Presbyterian to me. On Tuesday, and additional accomplices are still under investigation with more arrests possible. You remember on Friday we talked about this, how Kash Patel had announced they had broken up this big plot right before Halloween? On October 26, 5 days before the FBI alleges that the plot was going to take place, they would have attempted an ISIS-inspired mass shooting on Halloween. Nasser allegedly watched police body cam video showing Nashville officers respond to a mass shooting in the Covenant School, which left 3 children and 3 adults dead before police killed the shooter, Audrey Hale. They saw what these guys were downloading online, which means they already had them under surveillance. It was not immediately clear whether they were some of the unarmed co-conspirators described previously in court documents. They were due in federal court in Newark, New Jersey, Wednesday afternoon. We'll look for those updates so we have them for you tomorrow. The new arrests in New Jersey expand the suspect footprint of the alleged terror cell beyond the Dearborn, Michigan community and across a much larger swath of the United States. Time out. If you can do this with the ISIS guys, why can't you do this with Antifa? Why can't you do the same thing with Antifa? If you're going to designate Antifa a domestic terrorist organization, why aren't you investigating them like a domestic terrorist organization? You have them operating out of Dearborn. Well, hang on. What's in Dearborn, Michigan? Isn't that Rashida Tlaib's district? Aha. An amended complaint in the Detroit case added another 20 pages. It alleges that Nasser bought a Daniel Defense DDM 4V7 5.56 NATO rifle on September 3rd for $1,490.60. Adding to the alleged arsenal of high-priced firearms the authorities say Ali and Muhammad had been collecting. It also includes a second suspected juvenile plotter, identified only as person 2, who allegedly searched for Anwar Awalaki, a dead al-Qaeda terrorist. You might remember him. The Christchurch mass shooting at a mosque in New Zealand, the phrase Luigi Mangione shooting, and for the autopsy of Boston bomber Tamerlan Tsarnaev, among other terror attacks and mass shootings. In addition to allegedly scouting a strip of LGBT bars in Ferndale, Michigan, as a potential target, Nasser and person 2 also allegedly scouted an unnamed Midwestern theme park. Whoa. Were they going to Six Flags? No, I'm really, really serious. Were they going to Six Flags? Great America's out there. Or are they talking about a different one? You want to cause trouble? Six Flags would be the place it would be. Separately, Siddhartha, oh, wait a second, Mike. Okay, the Midwest has a similar schedule to us. They close for the winter. But what do they reopen for Halloween? Fright Fest. And the Six Flags all do the Fright Fest the same way that Wild Waves does. In fact, I heard about it for the first time on the East Coast with Great Adventure, the Six Flags that's out there. Holy cow, they were going to target one of the Fright Fest events. Separately, Siddhartha made his first appearance at federal court in Newark, New Jersey, Wednesday afternoon. Fox has the entire complaint here. I want to know if they were targeting one of those theme parks. I bet you it was Great America. I really do. He did not enter a plea on 2 counts of transmitting a threat in interstate or foreign commerce, and the judge ordered him held without bail. He faces a maximum of 5 years in prison, $250,000 fine. The father, Iranian expat and Queens College English professor. Watched from the back of the courtroom as the proceedings went on. The elder Siddhartha did not respond for an attempt to reach for him. A spokesperson for Queens College told Fox News Digital it is school policy to reserve comment on law enforcement allegations. Jimenez Guzal appeared later Wednesday. He is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization and 1 count of attempt to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization. He is accused of providing resources and personnel, namely himself, to ISIS. He faces a maximum of 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine if convicted. He did not enter a plea and waived his right to a formal reading of the charges. On Monday, federal prosecutors announced charges against Ali and Muhammad, both 20 from Dearborn, Michigan, for alleged roles in the plot, which involved multiple unnamed co-conspirators and the juvenile. They're accused of stockpiling guns and ammunition, practicing shooting, and scouting these potential targets. They allegedly codenamed their plot Pumpkin and plan to attack 1 or more nightclubs on Halloween, inspired by the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, Florida, and the Bataclan shooting in Paris, France a year earlier. Wow. Just wow. These are all things the Biden administration pretended didn't exist, remember? And the Obama administration pretended existed. It was white supremacist, even though it was a whole bunch of Islamic terrorists. The FBI executed search warrants on Friday at the homes of Ali and Muhammad at a storage unit they shared, seizing multiple semi-automatic rifles, a shotgun, handguns, tactical gear, and more than 1,600 rounds of .556 ammunition. Ali and Muhammad are being held without bail until at least Monday, when they are due in federal court in Detroit for hearings. This is horrifying. Thank God for the FBI. Thank God for the FBI. Thank God they did this. Their successes are rarely known, but their failures are made public. Thank God for the FBI. Thank God for the FBI. When we come back, my friends, where's all the Climate Commitment Act money going towards, and what should it be going towards? We have Representative Barkas joining us to discuss where it should be going, and is there a chance that's going to happen after the election results? We'll give you all details when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Aside from the fact that we're having our tax dollars taken from us, our spending dollars taken from us, the money we want for retirement and our kids' education taken from us, it doesn't seem to be going to any good use. What's it going towards? Laser hair removal for trans inmates? It's going to self-service stations that are being labeled as art galleries. And, of course, it's being used to stop climate change, but not actually doing anything about that. Joining us now to discuss on the Warrior Injury Law studio line is Representative Andrew Barkus, the ranking member of the State House of Representative Transportation Committee. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, Ari, always good to visit with you. Always have the best times talking about all these great things in Washington State. So, transportation being one of them. So
you and I have very different definitions of great, sir, but I do appreciate the compliment.
I'm trying to be positive.
There you go. Trying to be positive on a day like that. I can appreciate that. So you wrote an op-ed.
You are great. You do great.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. I'll take that any day of the week, especially on the limited sleep I've had. So you wrote an op-ed for the Seattle Times. And you were talking about using the money from the Climate Commitment Act, which is just going to nonprofits of people who you used to work with, not on your side of the aisle, but on the other side of the aisle. So maybe we should take that money and fix the roads or something else. Tell us about it.
Well, Ari, I think that we have all established that the Climate Commitment Act is a tax, is a revenue source, generating hundreds of millions of dollars coming into the state of Washington under the auspice of cleaning up the climate, reducing carbon. But the reality of it is it's going to all these various projects, such as transit and bike and ped paths and different things. I think, Ari, we have a situation where we have failing infrastructure, roads and bridges. We do not have an endless revenue source. We have an established one. Let's use it. Let's broaden the source. I don't think people in the state of Washington are going to scream and cry and say, oh, no, you can't do that. It's for the climate. I think they would be happy if we were actually using revenue sources, because until we get rid of the Climate Commitment Act, which isn't anytime soon, we have a revenue stream. We should use it before we start to talk about more taxation, which is always the answer.
So then how likely do you think it is, given the results of last night, that the Democrats are going to go for something like this? I mean, they have this new stream of revenue coming in, stream of taxes coming in, which they can use on whatever dumb project they want. And there is no incentive whatsoever for them to listen to any Republican at all.
Ari, I tell you, last night, disappointing, of course. And I'm not surprised with the horrific turnout that we've seen. I think the people need to start to step up and get their voices heard. The first way of doing that is by voting for the right people. But it's going to be tough. It has been continually tough for me to bring this forward. I've brought legislation as long as the CCA has been in existence, 3 years. I have a broader consensus now with labor organizations and other organizations that are joining with me on this same path of saying, hey, let's use this revenue, let's broaden it. I'm not saying take all of it. We can still do climate reduction things under the guidelines of what it was intended to do, but we can also do things to help other systems, including our roads. If we fix our roads, improve congestion, we're going to help the climate. If we use this money in different ways, we're going to help other things. So I think there is still going to be a potential appetite. It's never easy, especially when you have such a heavy influence by the environmental climate community activists that my colleagues on the left seem to be beholden to.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like that's changing anytime soon. So then let me ask you this. Last year in the Transportation Committee, you guys recommended a new tax going forward. Will you say right here, right now, that under no circumstances would you or any of your Republican colleagues, or you can't speak for them, but at least you'll try and advocate that they don't raise taxes under any condition whatsoever, because we've already been hit with so many taxes and we have this revenue stream that's not being used for something it should be used for?
Well, I was opposed. We had a good conversation on this, and it was a tricky year because I was opposed and voted no on the transportation revenue package, the gas tax, et cetera. I looked at and was supportive of an alternative to it we talked about in the road usage charge, or what we were calling the highway user fee, as a dedicated source to maintenance and preservation for our highway system in lieu of these other taxes. Going into this cycle, I don't see us raising taxes or them being proposed. However, I can't say that for the general budget or the overall condition. Ari, I'm going to come into this session with use existing revenue. I'm going to bring back this bill to look at using our sales tax revenue on automobiles. I'm going to look at using the Climate Commitment Act the same one I had before that says that when we have overages, a percentage should go to maintenance and preservation and to our roads. We don't need to talk about another tax or another revenue source within the existing budget right now. We still have a lot of things to talk about. I just talked to a group hours ago up in Tacoma about the fact that we have maintenance and preservation. We have all these projects we need to finish. We have a lot to do within the existing revenue sources. But Ari, I'm also talking in the same breath about, hey, maybe we need to go back and take a hard look at what we're doing with the ferry system. And instead of spending $500 million on an electric ferry that, oh, by the way, the one we got is not working, maybe we should go back and look at building those diesel electric ones that I talked about doing 3 years ago. So there are better things we can do by reprioritizing and redistributing the money that we have to take care of the issues at hand before we do taxation.
In the last few minutes we have with Representative Andrew Barkis, I got an idea. I just came up with this on the spot while I was listening to your answer.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're going to like this one. You're going to like this
Good.
one.
Okay.
I know we have the Adopt the Highway program, but I never see any adopted highways. In New York, you actually see them all over the place, and it's free or not free advertising, it's paid advertising. And you could do a nice job with the signs. The signs should be covered when people adopt a highway. I want to see if you would propose them taking a more serious look at that before any taxation whatsoever, because odds are they're probably going to say no to this Climate Commitment Act thing, and I just want their reaction. Where they go, we're not even going to consider people voluntarily giving us their money before we just want to suggest raising taxes. Would you be able to do something like that?
So are you talking, are we adopting a highway not to pick up litter, but we're going to have people adopt the highway to pay for it?
Well, it's more like when they do the litter thing, they're not actually paying for the litter, right?
Sure.
They're just giving over tens of thousands of dollars or whatever, but they get the advertising out of it. Exactly.
It's not a bad idea. Definitely take that into consideration. You have certain situations, that's a public-private partnership. Now you get my wheels turning here. I'm starting to think, we could have the Ari Hoffman supported section of 405, right?
I like that. Yeah, you fix the I-90 on-ramp from Rainier Avenue. I'll support that. You get rid of the homeless encampments over that.
A giant billboard with your picture on it.
I love that. So. Yes, that'll be great.
Yeah.
A big KVI billboard. What will he say next?
Right.
We'll just put that right there.
Right.
Or this homeless encampment removed by Ari Hoffman.
That's right. Yep, your sponsorship. I like it. Let me noodle on it a little bit. I'm sure I can. Hey, there's been more interesting legislation developed than that, so I'm sure we can come up with something.
Excellent. Representative Andrew Barkis, thanks for always being up for the conversation and the fun. Appreciate you joining us today.
You betcha. Hey, thanks for all the work you've done in the last couple of days, up to this election. The information getting out there and the continued work that you do, just spreading the word, always appreciated.
That's very kind of you to say. Appreciate it. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up the show in what has been a high-intensity day here on the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Before I get to our good news, just a few programming notes for you. Tomorrow, we will also be updating election results in real time. Maybe tomorrow, King County's website will be working right. We don't have to rely on the Secretary of State, which is a bit clunkier. It's crazy to me. Mike was just pointing out that it still hasn't updated correctly. And we had to get everything off the Secretary of State's site. So, yeah, King County, your math ain't mathing and your website ain't working.
Well, and bring out your best conspiracy theories. You know, text us at 206-421-5757. That is incredibly odd.
Yes. Your math ain't mathing and the website ain't working. That's a problem. And why is it every election? There's always something wrong. Why don't you guys just do what they do in Florida? They had the big problem. They fixed the big problem. They don't have the big problems no more. Nobody accuses them of election fraud. Is it so hard? Just do what they do in Florida. I should say that about everything. They're ready to give people back their property taxes. They have more revenue than they know what to do with it. So that's programming note number one. Programming note number two, make sure that you are following me on social media, Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, the Hofffather over on Twitter, because if there are updates in any of these races or anything else, anybody concedes an election, when we're not on air, I will make sure to have that for you. Number three, I'll be writing some articles tonight on all of this up at kvi.com. Hopefully they'll be posted by the morning. You can check out all my analysis of this if you missed any parts of the show. Number four, make sure you download the KVI app so that way you can enter our new contest, which is exclusively on the app, to win advance tickets to see The Running Man starring Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick and that Sydney Sweeney movie. Make sure that you download the app so you can see Glenn Powell, exactly right, in The Running Man with me, Mike, and Zach will be at the theater. And it's an advanced screening, so you get to see it 4 days before it opens in theaters. So make sure you head on over to the app right now, download it, or rather download the app from the App Store or the Apple Store. Download them right now, and that way you'll be able to enter the contest. Also, don't forget that coming up on November 8th, that is this weekend, we are going to the Auburn Veterans Day Parade. It's one of the largest Veterans Day parades in the country. This proud tradition honors our nation's veterans and active military with over 150 units, marching bands, military vehicles, and more along Main Street. Phil's going to be there. Zach's going to be there from the morning ride, along with Big Mike. And we're going to have our sister stations, 101.5 Hank FM and Northwest News Radio, come hang out with us at the KVI booth after the parade. The Auburn Veterans Day Parade is this Saturday, November 8th. Get all the details at kvi.com. Okay, that's the end of house cleaning. Now on to news. Mike, I'm going to need your help with this story here. The Mummy is getting another sequel.
Yay.
Now, I liked the first ones, but I watched them the one time and I never gave them a rewatch. Do they hold up? Because I remember that mummy looking a little funky back in the 90s.
How about news?
I see. Are the movies still fun, but the special effects suck? Are they those kind of movies?
Yeah, I think that's kind of it. And then the casting, I think, is what's made it age particularly well. The chemistry between Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, and even Arnold Vosloo is the titular mummy, the villain of the piece. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think what it is now it's kind of caught 90s kids nostalgia. So like in the same way that we're nostalgic for Indiana Jones, our 90s kids counterpart have that same type of nostalgia for them mummy movies. Even if they aren't super great, they are a lot of fun.
I may have to go rewatch them or download them for a plane to watch all three of them again. I always liked that Rachel Weisz. She caught my attention in them movies. I'll just say that. She was on my list for a little while. Exactly right. So, anywho, I'm excited that they're going to be making these new Mummy movies. Now, Mike, let's do a little bet here. What do you think comes out first, the Mummy sequel or Fast and Furious 11?
Oh, that movie's never coming out.
I mean, we did get that Tom
That series
Cruise
is going to end on a cliffhanger.
Exactly. Like the plane crash. Is everybody dead? Is Dom alive? Is his kid alive? Are they in a car? They went over that water fountain or whatever it was. I mean, yeah, it's
the world will never know.
We may never know. We may never actually know. And we don't have a lot of details on the Mummy plot either, but I assume it's going to be better than the Tom Cruise one. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Tom Cruise one. It just wasn't the same movie we were expecting from the first ones. It wasn't great. I think that's really it. If you're going to call it something else, make it a different monster movie with Tom Cruise. It doesn't need to be the movie. If Tom Cruise can't restart a franchise, maybe you guys screwed up somewhere along the way. I'm just going to put that out there for everybody's consumption. By the way, the thing at Universal Studios, they took that old snow tunnel from the $6 million man, and they turned it into a mummy ride. So you go into that thing, and the thing spins around the tram tour, but then they have all these creepy crawlers all over you. Lots of fun. I do love the Universal Studios tram tour. Well, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for us today. But fear not, because we will be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more election results, my friends. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.